got a rockin' pneumonia and a boogie-woogie flu. Monster loving, baby, that ain't all. I wanna kiss her, but the gal's too tall.
We don't have an intro.
No.
I can't believe your reaction to me inventing the GoBro.
And do you think I undersold it?
Yeah. Put a bro on your head.
Yeah.
And when you're going down your ski run.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, maybe he's holding the camera. Who knows? But basically he's just there for woos and
Sure.
yeah, dude support.
Yeah.
Everybody needs a little yeah, dude support.
I would agree with that. Do you remember the Nickelodeon
The GoBro.
show? Yeah. Do you remember the Nickelodeon
At
show?
Walmart.
Hey Dude.
Yes.
That's what that reminds me of.
Yeah,
for
why
some
I know of
reason.
it. I never watched any of those.
Oh gosh, I love
The explosion of Nick original content was just after my time.
Okay, well,
So
it
no
was,
Even Stevens.
It was right on the
No
mark for
Boys
me.
Meeting Worlds. Oh, that was Network.
Yeah, that was Network. I watched Even Stevens and I watched Boy Meets World. Even Stevens was actually like, I was probably a little too old for it.
I think
but
Charlotte
I
Buff
watched
was
it
abusing
anyways.
women on the set of Even Stevens.
No,
Let's not talk
No,
about
I
that. It's a Christmas. Kind of.
Merry Christmas.
It's as close as Christmas as we're going to get to our audience because we're probably going to take a break and come back in the new year. So this is pretty much the last COVideos for this year. 47's not bad.
No,
Although we
47
started-
Ronin.
Actually, no, that's right. We started. Yeah, we used to do 2 a week though. 47 Ronin.
Mm-hmm.
Don't. Anyway, so that's what we're doing there, and we've got 2 Christmas movies.
We do.
If Die Hard's a Christmas movie,
Yep.
even when Bruce Willis, he was just doing a comedy bit, said it wasn't, and 12 Monkeys is a Christmas movie, you fake Terry Gilliam fans,
Yeah. Right.
then the 2 movies we picked, both set nominally at Christmas,
Yes,
are Christmas films.
I agree.
They both have at least a Christmas tree in them.
Yeah. Right.
Or possibly Santa Claus.
Right.
Might show up in one of them. And one of our movies contains Tom Cruise, but since this is the patter section of the show, we'll just do this now. Did you hear the recording of Tom Cruise yelling at
I did.
the crew?
I did. Mission Impossible 7.
What do you think about
Oh, actually,
that?
I don't. To be fair, let me backtrack that a little bit. I didn't actually hear the recording, but I read exactly what he said,
Okay.
like a quotation.
Yeah.
I don't blame him for being pissed. I mean, I'm not like a huge Tom Cruise stan. I enjoy him in movies sometimes. I'm not necessarily a fan of him personally, but I totally understand where he's coming from. You know, like he got mad at the crew because they weren't going by they weren't doing COVID standards, and they're trying really hard to keep filming going and everything. And he also was like, everybody in Hollywood is like looking at us, and
Who's looking at him?
like looking at the film, like they're supposed to be like the gold standard or what have you. And I think he, as the face of the film, feels a lot of responsibility towards that. That's what I think. Don't you think?
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
I think that it's. I guess I agree
Oh,
with everything that you say.
okay.
And mostly that, I mean, it's a little self-aggrandizing, but
Okay, fair.
but it's positive, and I think a lot of people, I don't know, we don't like, we like decorum in general. We definitely like it in our movie stars because they're our royalty in America. And to see somebody flip out, it's like the Christian Bale thing. Like, he flipped out on that guy, but from all the other accounts that you hear, Mick G's set isn't a super tight set, and that guy is kind of a prick, and he was being disruptive. And so if the star of this $200 million film, who feels the pressure of that, and Tom Cruise is taking, the $25 billion industry on his shoulders, which he doesn't probably have to do, but
probably not.
But I guess how many, you don't hear about a lot of Tom Cruise blow-ups, do you?
No.
There's the whole thing with like him and his relationship with a guy who shall not be named, whose wife we can't find, and the special religion that they have. And so there's a lot of other things to get mad at Tom Cruise for.
For sure. Absolutely. Yes. But I 100% agree with that.
And plus, if he really feels strongly about it, make a YouTube video. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yell at your crew, but then turn around and go, you probably heard that I yelled at about...
Yeah.
You probably heard that I yelled at some people. but this is important, people.
Yeah,
and then let's
right.
get it. Hashtag we're gonna cruise it or whatever. Make a campaign out of it. Don't keep it silent.
Maybe make some Mission Impossible 7 masks too, or something.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's your mission. If you choose to accept it,
There you go.
wear a mask.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I like it.
But the real news, though, is have you heard that he's been seen arm in arm with Haley Atwell?
Oh my God.
Tuh.
No, Haley.
I know.
Just no. You could do so much better. Why?
But could she? Let's talk quick about Haley Atwell.
Oh, jeez.
38 years old.
Yeah.
Doesn't look a day over.
She's gorgeous.
29.
She's gorgeous.
Non-married.
Yeah.
No boyfriend we know about.
Uh-huh.
What's up with that?
I don't know.
She has stated at some point, she told the Evening Standard in 2020 that she's always felt genderless. Which is quite odd because I
Okay.
have big boobs. Direct quote.
Okay. Well, I'm not exactly sure what to take from that. I mean, that could mean.
But I mean,
just
how
take it
did she make it to 38 with no entanglements? Do you know what I mean?
Maybe we just don't know about him. Maybe she's just a very private person. Maybe she's. I don't know. I don't really like to posit on people's.
We're doing it right now.
She could be asexual. I don't know.
She could be.
I don't know.
That's why I think it's like
I don't know.
Maybe she's saving herself from Tom Cruise. I don't know. I mean, look, he does.
Whoa.
He does this.
What, like people like fantasize about
No,
him?
he
Or,
uses.
I know Katie
he
Holmes
uses
has that a little bit.
right. He uses his movies as a dating service. We're going to talk about it. We're going to
He's
talk
not
about
the
it.
only one.
True. And she's how old? Boy, she's younger than Katie Holmes, isn't she?
Is she?
Must be
Just barely.
close.
Yeah.
And Katie Holmes, she's not cute when they interviewed her about them getting together, and she's like, I had a poster of him on my wall when I was a girl. It's
I
like,
think
that's
she
not-
thought
it's
it
not
was
cute.
like super cute,
It's not
and
cute.
it's just been
No.
weird the entire time.
But Haley finds herself in the exact same situation.
Yeah.
How many times did she rewind that scene in Risky Business? No, it's
Right, wow.
no, it's All the Right Moves. Sorry, All the Right
Oh,
Moves.
okay.
Anyway, keeps his socks on. Let's talk about your film, and then we'll talk about Tom Cruise's dick later.
All right.
Your film was
The French Connection.
which you.
Enjoyed.
Okay, good. I felt for certain that you have seen this movie before.
I have
but
not.
You have not seen this
I
movie.
have not. If I have seen this movie, it was erased from my brain surgically while I was sleeping.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to enjoy it again. It came out in 1971. It's directed by William Friedkin. It's our second William Friedkin movie on this show. Will not be the last, of course. Last one was Sorcerer, starring Roy Scheider,
Yes.
who's also in this film, and of course stars Gene Hackman as Jimmy Popeye Doyle, who is a narcotics cop with his partner Buddy Russo, both based on real life policemen.
Yes.
I forget their names.
But you said that they were in the film, right? Like
Yeah.
the police chief was one.
The police chief was the guy that Popeye is based on.
Yeah.
And then Russo plays a minor character, another cop in the movie. And they are, the French Connection is, the titular French Connection is a pipeline of drugs coming from France.
Right.
This is all pre-official war on drugs.
Yes,
But it
this
was
is in the
already
70s.
ramping up because
Yeah.
the Republicans have nothing else to pick on. And so
Right.
Nixon made a big deal out of the growing heroin problem. And he specifically targeted or brought up in a series of speeches the French Connection.
Is that right? I didn't know
Heroin
that.
coming from Europe, coming
Okay.
from France. And there was a real life case involving this is fictional, but fictionalized version of real events.
Right.
A French supplier, these two cops. Still can't remember their names. Egan and Grosso sounds right for some reason. I'm
Okay.
not sure why. And so, yeah, this is kind of the fictionalized story of that. He and his partner, just on a whim, they're having a drink, and he sees a
Yes.
guy who he thinks doesn't belong in this club that they're in, and they follow him because they got nothing better to do. They have
I
no
know.
lives, and he lives suspiciously. And so they decide to start following him. They get a hint that he's going to meet somebody from Europe, and the whole movie is the process of them trying to follow this guy. They put a wire on him, try to get information, see who he's talking to. On the other side of the film, we follow the supplier, the French supplier, Frog One, they call him.
Yeah, right. Does he have any actual name?
Alain Charnier is his real name. And
the actor's real name?
Fernando Rey is the actor.
Oh, okay.
And and he is a Spanish actor, and he is coming from France, and we're seeing how he's trying to hook this deal up with Sal Boca, who is this character who that they see who has a deli and is a petty crook.
Yeah,
but he's spending money.
Newspaper
Where's he getting the
and
money
candy
from?
store.
Yeah,
right. Not even. I mean, yeah, it's small potatoes.
This is the first movie to show the World Trade Center.
Is that right?
Yes, it was just being completed as the movie was being filmed, and so you can see, if you look closely, you can see the completed, I think, North Tower and the partially completed South Tower in the film.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that. Interesting.
You liked it.
I did.
God dang it, I like William Friedkin movies.
It was really, really good. I wanted to say, and maybe I'm off base here, but I just want to say it anyways. I was watching this film, and I really think that Gene Hackman is a great actor. And I think that a lot of people recognize him as a great actor. He's well known. He's a name that people know. He's in a lot of things. But I feel like maybe he's not as allotted as some other really great actors. Like, I think maybe sometimes he gets overlooked.
No, maybe now.
Okay, you don't think so?
Well, no, because he was like huge all through the 70s,
well, I suppose.
the 80s, and the 90s, and then he retired in the aughts, I think, and he hasn't looked back. And that's, I mean, what does he have to do at this point?
No, I know, but he's fantastic. Yeah. And this character, I really liked this character.
Thank you for saying that. Appreciate it.
This character too, because
I love his yelling.
Yeah, he yells a lot, but he's got. So it's set up really early on. He has all these hunches, but there's this one other cop, or he's like maybe he's not a cop. He's like an FBI. He's a Fed somehow, right? And he's helping him on the case. And he doesn't like Doyle because one of his hunches got a good cop killed, and we don't know the circumstances, but sometimes he's wrong. And so we set that up early on. So then, like, he kind of maybe doesn't necessarily second guess himself, but that sets us, the audience, up to be like, does he know what he's talking about? Is this guy really up to something, or is he small potatoes?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think that's good. I like some fallibility in characters. I think it makes
he's fallible.
Yeah. I think it makes it way more interesting. And I liked his partner a lot too. And I think that they worked well with each other. I also liked that we got to see a little bit of the film from the French guy's point of view and Sal's point of view and at least we saw them, when the cops weren't around, and we saw them planning things out and working things out and trying to figure things out. So
yeah, I
liked that too. There's a lot of intrigue. There's a lot of like what's going on. There's some really big action sequences in this too.
Yeah.
Like especially the train car race. And I think that's what probably people think about the most when they think about this film.
The car chase?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Which, and this must be exaggerated, right? But this is the story. They didn't have permits for.
How in the heck is that possible?
Well, so Eddie Egan, that's his name, and Sonny Grasso were the characters, or the guys that the characters are based on, and they worked on the film as consultants. And so having them there meant that they had access to people in the department. They called in favors, they got off-duty cops to sort of like block the streets.
Okay.
And so it was, from what I understand, if there was a stunt, like they ran into somebody or something like that, that was all planned. I mean, obviously you can't just hit somebody's car and then, yeah. But other than that, like all the POV shots, on the roadway, like when they're going around the cars, and supposedly that's all real traffic.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they just got set up. And,
That's terrifying.
yeah.
If you were a person in a car and you saw this, the hell would you think was going on? Wouldn't you? Be,
Well,
like,
you'd see a
freaking
camera, on
I
front of the car, or depending on the shot,
all
you'd see a
right.
chase car.
That's fair. That's fair.
And
but
yeah,
geez.
and whenever I heard that, I was like, how is that possible? But then I thought about it. Yeah, I mean, like, Eddie Egan just calls his buddies, and they're like, yeah, sure, all right. For a couple cases of beer, they'll just block some streets, and you have a little more control. But
yeah,
and
right.
Hackman drove the car the entire time. Although there are several stunts that are very dangerous that they must have had a stunt driver.
How is that even? Yeah, seriously, he runs into
So some real
cars
guerrilla
and walls.
filmmaking.
Yeah, really. And then like the train stuff, that was really scary too. The French actor who was in I forget what Images. I think I mentioned this while we were watching it. He has a very conspicuous face. You just look at this guy and you're like, what's this guy up to? And like
Marcel Bozzuffi.
Very French.
Yes.
I like he gets on the train and like he just like the cop starts following him and he just shoots him. Just like right away. There's no plan.
He's good at shooting cops.
Apparently.
Shoots a French cop at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, I know. And
then he
like,
eats his bread.
I know, but just part of it. He's like, I just want the
French bread.
Yeah. I don't want the whole thing. I'm gonna
Dip
diet.
it in your blood.
Yeah. And then like, oh my god, like putting the gun on the conductor of the train and everything too. And then the guy ends up fainting after. It's like,
yeah, they made this movie
he's like cornered. He's cornered at the end in that.
Yeah, and he's not. I mean, give up, but he's not going to give up.
Yeah.
And he gets shot in the back by Popeye. This movie was made for $1.8 million.
Doesn't seem like that much.
How is that possible?
With that huge.
How is that even possible?
Is the license to shoot a scene like that expensive that they made it for $1.8 million?
Well, I was going to say, yeah, maybe that's how it's possible. They didn't have a permit to shoot in the subway either. They did all that on pickup.
What?
So I don't know what you do. Like people, like you can't fill a train car with.
But that's another really big scene, and they go in and out of the train
and
a bunch of times.
They're not filling a train car with extras, right? So they're just real people, and I guess
they had to get them to sign NDAs somehow.
No, that we didn't worry about that back then. So you live in New York.
They're just random people.
You live in New York, and I guess
face.
you just expect that I see a camera.
That's
they must be shooting
weird.
something, and then there's clearly PAs that are going like, "Don't look at the camera. Don't look at the camera." So, like, when he gets out of the train, when the first time that the Frog One jumps out of the train, and he jumps out too, and then he's, like, talking to some lady, probably asking her if she picked her feet in Poughkeepsie.
Right.
That could have been just some girl who was on the subway. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just so...
Oh, my God.
Yeah, anyway.
And then he made a real person miss their train, because she misses that train.
Yeah, it's New York, and I don't want to be along soon.
Oh, I would have been so mad. Yeah.
Maybe she was like, oh my God, it's Gene Hackman.
Yeah, maybe.
But maybe not, because this is probably his first real breakout role. He'd done things before this, but this is the thing that put him on the map, because this thing won Best Picture, and it won a ton of Oscars. So,
well, it deserved it. It's a great film.
A lot of casual racism, and a lot of police brutality.
Yeah, okay. Caveat. A lot of racism, a lot of police brutality. So, I mean, I guess... how much do you take as a snapshot of the time, and how much do you say, maybe not a good move?
Well, the thing about
obviously not a great move.
The thing about Eddie Egan, and Hackman has said this, because Hackman, they shot, I think the first thing they shot was the alley scene, where they...
they beat the guy up.
They beat up the dealer, and Hackman said that he had to, they started shooting it, and he had to stop, because he was not... Because Friedkin's like... These guys are tough guys. You go in there and you need to press this guy. Mm-hmm. And Hackman was like, I got to stop. I don't feel comfortable, with the actor. Like we're beating up the actor.
Right.
Obviously it's staged, but we're still being really rough with him, and we're saying all these things. And I don't know if I can do this. And Friedkin's like, we'll just take some time. Get your head right, get in the space, and we'll do it later. And they did some other stuff. They picked up some other shots and stuff like that, and then went back and did it again. But so he was aware of, how brutal they were being. But apparently, if you ask around, Eddie Egan was Eddie Egan didn't have a problem with that. Eddie Egan was kind of like that.
Okay.
And Hackman said later in his life, I think after Egan died or something, that he was never sure if it was a put on or not, because the guy was like a good cop, and he and he did a lot of stuff for the city, and he never knew if that was just like what he did because that was the character that scared the punks. Do you know what I mean? Like that's who he had to be.
Right.
Because at one point Roy Scheider gets stabbed by the guy.
Yeah.
And they're leaving, and he's like, never trust an N-word.
I know. And I was like, oh, boy.
But then later on in the movie, they go and they shake down all the black bars and stuff like that.
Which I was like, really?
But Popeye talks to the guy who's either a grass or is an undercover cop.
Yes.
And he's like, yeah, what do you got? Oh, yeah, okay, good. And he's got no problem working with them. There's other black characters in the film, and there's black people around. So I don't know if it's just like there's a lot of class in this film, you know?
Yes.
If it's just that, or if it's just like, open racism. I mean, there's black cops on the force. If it was just a character that he had to play, I'm not trying to forgive
right. I know what you're saying.
The character did or the real life guy did, but I mean, that's definitely
you definitely have to talk about it, like with this film.
Yeah, you do. And the class thing I think is interesting because they did a lot to emphasize like the difference between the lives of the criminals and the cops. Like crime pays.
Right. Especially like
we start off in the beginning.
Yeah.
He's got, he's going to build a new factory because he used to be a longshoreman, they mention, but now he's, got a legitimate shipping business, which I'm sure he's going to move drugs on the boats as soon as like his harbor is ready to go. He's got a young girlfriend, and they go to New York. She buys him
a nice fancy coat.
They go to New York.
A nice camera.
Yeah, right, yeah, with money that he probably gave her. They go to New York, and they're eating in a French restaurant, and across the street, Popeye's freezing his ass off, like eating pizza and drinking coffee. Yeah. And we see what these men have to go through to catch, these other guys.
Well, I thought that was very interesting. They're having this nice, luxurious, fancy, like, I don't even know how many course meal that took several hours, and he's freezing his ass off in the cold with a slice of pizza and coffee, which is, I don't know. Maybe that's an okay combination. It doesn't sound appealing to me, but yeah, there's that. I thought that the camera thing, because like they go to like one of these, what did they call it? Like a car graveyard or something like that. There's like all these junkyard. There's like a bunch of cars that get impounded throughout the city, and then they have a guy who like bids on them and stuff like that. And like she's like there while they're, I mean, it's not like illegal, right? But she's there and she's like taking pictures. I thought like while this is happening, I thought that we were going to see more of the girlfriend, and she was going to be taking pictures, and like she would catch something incriminating on the film or something like that. I thought that was going to come back, but we don't even see the girlfriend ever again, I don't think.
No, I don't think it's really all that necessary. I don't know if she comes back at all.
No, she could have stayed in France, but whatever.
I don't get the plan. The plan is...
Yeah.
So
I'm with you on that one.
So French guy needs to bring the heroin in.
Yes.
And he needs somebody to like buy it, basically, right? Mm-hmm. Like Sal represents an interest. That's who all those goons are at the end. He's gotten all these guys together, and they're all going to go in on this shipment, and then they're going to, and he's the broker,
and they're going
to distribute it throughout their networks, right? So they bring the heroin in the car. That makes sense.
Yep.
And they need a big luxury car, I guess, to fit all the heroin in the crawl space rocker panels or whatever.
Yeah.
So they have to involve the TV guy for some reason. That happened in real life. There was a French television personality who was indicted in connection with this thing.
I think it's a way to
maybe car
distance it from themselves in case something goes south.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
But the guy gets, the car gets pulled in, and so now the guy ends up serving time. He's totally connected to it.
Yeah.
Then they take the car to the thing, and everybody's like, oh, yeah, there's drugs in there. They take the drugs out. Then they have the money, but they put the money in
the car.
In other cars that the brother has bought at auction.
Uh-huh.
People can't just carry the money home? What are they putting the money in there for?
Because they're hiding it.
Right, but why?
It's secret money.
Can't spend hidden money.
Yeah, I don't know. Why not just put it in a small bag or something?
Yeah. Their one trick is putting the money under the rocker panels.
Right.
In
Nobody
the body
will
of the
look
car.
there.
Yeah, but like once we know that trick, like that trick's dead now.
Yeah, I know.
Everything they've got is hidden in there.
Yes, exactly. That's their one trick.
The Shroud of Turin is hidden in there. But now now every car you find, that's the first place you look.
Yeah, exactly.
So, there is, both of these movies have an interesting use of music. And there's, diegetic music in this.
Yeah.
There's that great number that they really focus on with the group that I don't know their name. I know that they, they're like a Sisters with Voices. I should have picked a white group, but anyway, I think they were popular back then, but you wouldn't know them now.
They were really good. They were great performers, very entertaining, and they had a great sound.
But other than that, there isn't a ton of other music. There's some music in the car chase, but not a lot.
There's stuff to build the suspension, yeah.
Yeah, mostly they build suspension with like this whistling tone.
Yes.
That it's kind of like a precursor to the Dark Knight piano string thing, It sort of like rises and rises and rises in these sort of tense moments.
Yeah.
There's that, or there's...
I know.
We'll get to that.
There's a lot of tailing in this movie.
There's a lot of following people
in cars and by foot.
A lot of going. Whoop! I'm gonna pretend like I'm doing this now.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh boy, look at that, sausages. Huh?
There's this one scene where it's like maybe midway through the movie where they're following Sal and they're about to see who he's gonna meet up with, but they're trying to be inconspicuous. And Sal is looking at something in the window, and then Gene Hackman comes up, and he's looking at the other corner. And there's this great shot where we go through the window, and we focus on Sal, but we see Gene's reflection, and it looks like they're next to each other.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Also, dumb. Maybe Popeye's not good at this.
I mean,
maybe he's not
possible.
quite as good a cop as he thinks he is.
Yeah.
Because, you can just... look through a window. You think Sal really wants to buy some toys?
No.
He's probably just stopping because he thinks he's being followed.
Yeah.
So going to the other corner of a corner with a window on each side.
I know, right?
That you can look right through is maybe not
the way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair.
It makes sense with the train thing when he's following the French guy because, I don't know, the feds have their heads up their asses and he leaves the hotel and they don't even see it. Mm-hmm. And he could have gone, hey, federal guys, you gotta follow him. You gotta follow him right now.
I know, right?
But instead, he goes off on his own because he's Popeye. So he gets when you follow somebody, it's good to have more than one person because then you can do a thing where, like the first time they're following him, he's walking and Sal. I think it's this part. Sal stops and he keeps going.
Yes.
Because what can he do? He can't just stop now.
Right.
And then
somebody else.
He walks off, and as Sal goes on, then Roy Scheider ends up behind him and starts following him. Yeah. But when you're all by yourself, then
there's nothing else you can do.
You're vulnerable to the train jump off. And the wave. Oh, the sarcastic wave.
I want to. Yeah, I know, right?
The worst.
I want to. So they decide that Gene Hackman, he gets taken off the case, and they decide that he's a problem. So the French guy's like, "I'll take care of him," and
I'll handle it.
And is he just trying to scare him, or is he like a bad shot? Like, what was his plan? Because he's like in broad daylight. I'm gonna use my. It's not even a sniper rifle. I don't know.
It's a sniper.
Was it? I'm gonna use a sniper rifle near a public park where there will be many people.
These guys don't care.
Seriously, and he shot.
They'll eat your breath.
He shot a lady who was taking a walk with her baby.
Yeah, the real victim in all.
I don't know if the lady's okay.
I don't think she is.
No.
And that's what the sequel focuses on. That orphaned baby.
Oh my God.
There is a sequel.
Is there?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's a great film, but it does not warrant a sequel.
Because Frog One gets away.
Oh, well, that's true.
So you know what the sequel is? First of all, I have a special place in my heart for the sequel. It's not great, but it's a John Frankenheimer movie.
Well, maybe we should watch it.
And if you like Gene Hackman yelling at people, it's great.
Okay.
Popeye takes his vacation and he goes to France to find the French guy.
This is his idea of, that actually makes sense because Popeye's like, let's go to a bar. And then he ropes him into
He's not very good at it.
Yeah.
And he gets captured by their gang.
Oh, no.
And they hook him on smack.
Wow.
possibly to also nominated for an Oscar, possibly to appear on this show in the future. We'll see. Let's talk about my movie.
Yes. Tell us what your movie was.
My movie was, because it doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, what your movie is. Excuse
I just
me.
inverted and erased it from existence.
All right, Tennant.
Good thing we didn't pick that.
Yeah.
My movie's Eyes Wide Shut.
Yep.
Stanley Kubrick's last film from 1999.
Yes.
But filmed in like 1994 or like 95.
Sure. Yeah.
It took 2 years to make.
Yep.
A movie that, boy, don't talk about Tom yelling at everybody.
Yeah, I know.
A movie that is fascinating for a lot of reasons if you are our age. If you were born after 1990, you don't care.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, it's very much of its time, and it's so interesting that Stanley Kubrick made that movie right when he did and with the people that he did. And we'll talk about that after you tell us what happens in Eyes Wide Shut.
Okay.
Where are the eyes? How do they get wide and shut? It's a terrible title. It's a terrible title.
Yeah, I think that they were trying to be cheeky, but it's
No.
it's not great.
No.
Maybe we should come up with something better. I don't know. I'm not really great at things on the
let's
spot.
talk about
Anyways,
film.
so Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman are a married couple, and they were married in real life when this was happening. Was filmed, and Tom Cruise, they live in New York, and Tom Cruise is some kind of doctor. He tells you that all the time. He's got his card in his wallet. He'll show it to you. And she was some sort of art dealer. And they go to this huge, fancy, Christmas party.
Feat.
Yeah, that's at this guy's house. And, they have some interesting interactions while they're there. Like, she gets hit on by this guy who's from Honduras, and he's like, oh...
Hungary, but okay.
Was it Hungary?
Yeah.
Oh, crap. Sorry. Hungry. And he flirts with a couple ladies, and then he helps the host of the house.
Played by Sidney Pollack.
Yeah. He's with this woman who overdoses or almost overdoses, and so he calls him up and he helps, and she's very lucky and she's going to be okay. But so there's that. And
Oh no, we got a ways to go.
I guess Nicole Kidman, they have, this weird conversation. She confronts him about, the ladies at the party, and he's like, nothing happened. And then he has these weird ideas about, men and women have different ideas about sex, and they approach it differently.
Guys are like this.
Yeah.
Girls are like this.
Yeah, right. And she just kind of, laughs in his face and tells him about this one time, I don't know, a couple years ago, where she saw this naval officer, and then she has been thinking about him ever since, and that really kind of pushes him, and so he's obsessing about this, and then he goes out because one of his
adventures.
Yes, one of his patients died, and then there's a lot of other things that happen, and he kind of gets messed up with some sort of weird, it seems like a sex cult or something.
Wow, you're yada-ing the sex cult. I love it.
And they basically they can tell that he's an outsider, and they're basically like, who the hell are you? Get out of here. If you come sniffing around, we're gonna make...
Get out of here! Get out of here!
I know. We're gonna make
come
life...
back to Poughkeepsie again!
Yeah, we're gonna make your life difficult for you and your family. Not exactly a veiled threat. So, and then
Then we do it all backwards.
Yeah, more or less. So.
And they need to... This is a PG-13 show.
Yeah.
This movie, I have a weird history with this movie.
Let's hear it.
It's actually not that weird. Every movie in the 90s, in the late 90s when I was in college. Right. I went in my leather trench coat and my sunglasses that just clip onto my nose.
Yeah.
I know a lot about because I was in acting school, I was studying acting, and I was reading the trades, and I was paying attention to everything, and so I know way too much about movies from the late 90s, early 2000s for that reason. Mm-hmm. And also, it was right when my film fanness was being born as well. You know, movies weren't just something that you just do to kill 2 hours; they're like art, right?
Yeah.
And so the greatest American film. I know he loved living in Britain, but the greatest American filmmaker of the 20th century, arguably, Stanley Kubrick, was making his last film. We didn't know it was his last.
Right.
But as he was making it, it was a huge to-do. It was a big deal. It was... New York does not appear in this film.
Which is weird.
Just in
character.
stock footage.
Yeah. Huge character.
They built a huge, 3-block set. It's all shot in Britain because he doesn't like to fly, and he doesn't like to fly, and he doesn't want to go to America.
Jeez.
And so they recreated New York somewhat convincingly in Britain for this whole movie, and it's Tom and Nicole at the height of Tom and Nicole-ness.
Yes,
the
it
late
was
90s.
at their height. Yes,
And so you and I were having a discussion about Brian De Palma earlier today.
yeah,
And voyeurism. What do voyeurism mean?
yeah.
And you want to talk about voyeurism? Everybody in the country wanted to see Tom and Nicole F.
Yeah, I know.
And so that's a big
seems like
part
voyeurism.
of everybody's. I don't know. It just remains. That's why nobody born after 1990 cares about this film, because they didn't ever really
was
care
like-
about Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is an old weird guy who jumps off of planes.
Yeah.
He wasn't like this super movie star
icon.
Yeah.
that we just
And the
held
same
up.
with Nicole.
Yeah.
Like, she's putting on a fake nose and she's winning Oscars left and right. You know what I mean? And so it was a weird time. And then also just me, like, I read about the production of the film and the stops and starts. Harvey Keitel was originally cast to play the Sidney Pollack role.
Really?
Shot most of his part, and then because of the long production, wouldn't be able to complete other stuff, and he had to drop out, and they reshot the entire thing.
Oh my gosh.
The lady who comes on to Tom Cruise at her father's deathbed,
Yes.
that was originally Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Really?
Gone. Alan Cumming didn't know he was in the film until he was sitting watching it, because he also, he was
What?
cast. I think
Okay.
he shot some other scenes, but, wasn't able to do some stuff, and he thought he might get cut out. And so, so yeah, like, I just,
It was fun to see him,
all this
though.
was going on, and then he died,
Right.
and it looked like, clearly we need to release this movie. It's got Tom and Nicole, but we don't know when it's going to come out. And there's a huge controversy because of the orgy scene.
Yeah, I remember.
And there was
that.
a big deal. They went back and forth. And there was a big deal about, in the orgy scene, they inserted digital figures to block all of the, the quote unquote explicit stuff that we see. Although, you can see what they see on TV now.
Yeah.
That was a big deal back then. I've only seen the movie once. I saw it in the theater in 1999.
Right.
So I've never actually seen the digitally altered scene.
Interesting.
We just saw it.
Yeah, I remember them talking about wanting to rate it like NC-17 because of that.
Which today,
and
he would just release it on Netflix or on HBO, and it would be fine.
Right. And I remember, probably HBO, and I remember, it was like a big deal, like you said, the whole Tom and Nicole thing.
And I think that
I was too young to see it in the theater, and I also think I was like, well, I have no interest in that, but I was curious to see it.
And I think in a lot of ways it also represents, in the same way, this is
Yeah.
all going to make sense, in the same way that Tango and Cash
Oh my God.
released Christmas Weekend. We should watch Tango and Cash.
We should.
Christmas Weekend, 1989, represents
really
really
everything from the 80s.
last of the 80s excess action films. This is like the last of the 90s, video nasty, erotic thriller genre.
Yeah, I can see that.
They kind of died out after this. In the late 80s and then like all through the 90s, you had these films where it's like Body of Heat, Sex of Disaster,
Oh my
or
gosh.
whatever. And it's just like, these people, maybe they're gonna bone, maybe there's a murder or something,
Right.
And for that was just really big for some reason. Probably because there was no internet porn.
Yeah.
And this was like the mainstreaming of that as well. And it was Hollywood king and queen, Tom and Nicole. in
And
it.
directed by Kubrick.
Yeah, and Kubrick was directing it.
Yeah.
Although he
Right.
had always, I think, talked about wanting to direct like a blue film or like a
I could see that.
porno type film.
I can see that.
And he accomplished it with Clockwork Orange. But,
know.
And apparently this is based on a book, novella called Traumnovelle, which means dream story in German, From what I understand, except for the modern elements, it is essentially the same story. They didn't change it too much, although it does say inspired by. I haven't read it. And he wanted to make it in the 70s.
Oh.
But he felt like he couldn't get away with it. And so
Interesting.
he just put it in the back pocket.
Huh. He was like, the 70s, free love.
How am I going to get this orgy in
Yeah,
here?
right, exactly.
I don't know. This is also, I think, again, as an acting student, I was studying a lot of, actors and their technique.
Yeah.
I think this is where it comes from. The Tom Cruise thing.
Oh, his like...
No, in the form of a question.
What do you mean?
What do I mean? I mean this.
Yeah.
I mean this.
I think he definitely is doing that.
If you cut out every time he repeats something that somebody says to him, this movie's 90 minutes. If you cut out the pauses, it's a YouTube video.
Yeah.
There's a lot of deliberateness in everything.
Yes.
And it works when you're building tension and do. When the climactic psycho scene at the end is Sidney Pollack explaining everything to Tom Cruise in a billiard room, maybe not so much.
Yeah, it kind of deflated a little bit.
Yeah, it kind of runs out of gas. Mm-hmm. And it's all part of it. He's not trying.
I don't know what you're talking about.
He's not trying to, Kubrick, he's not trying to drive this to a pulse-pounding conclusion. This is the part in the sexy direct-to-video Cinemax movie where a gun comes out, and it's like, you never loved me, or whatever, get out of here, or something like that. It's rising and falling action, literally. It's like things build up, the orgy is the tensest part, and the rest is all fallout. There's more tension in two Japanese perverts chasing Lily Sobieski around a couch than the guy going, do you want to have sex with my daughter? Like, there's more tension in the first scene.
Right.
It means that as a movie, it's kind of like, that's not how movies go. Usually they like rise to tension and then it's like, well, we've solved that mystery, and then the end. But instead, the movie just kind of peters out.
Oh, you think it deflates?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying this entire time.
Yeah, okay.
As, the repercussions of that night sort of fall out. And I think that would drive your casual viewer away. As a dork that likes story structure and likes Kubrick, I'm into it. But even I'm like, we could pick up the cues in some of these final scenes.
I think a little bit. I mean, I think it does.
Because the orgy happens almost at the exact middle of the movie. You'd think that would be like near the end, but that's like the second act.
Well, and I think, too, that the thing is, like, I understand why Kubrick was like, I don't know if I can get away with this. I'm going to back pocket this, because you need to have that in there to tell the story. If you don't have that in there, there is no... you have half of a story, if that. Because that's...
Maybe it was a really wild party where they're having soda and cake.
Yeah, right.
And they're like, you want cake? What's the password?
Yeah, right.
Funfetti. No, what's the soda password? Oh my God. Pie in the face. Maybe I'm thinking of a Beastie Boys video. What did you think about the relationship between, not Tom and Nicole, Bill and Alice? Tom and Nicole.
Yeah, well...
What did you think about
I wasn't sure.
Because the movie wants you to know. I like how the movie starts. It just starts right away. It's like, here are the names of everybody. Ready to go? Here's Nicole Kidman's butt. You got what you paid for.
I know, right?
You can get up and leave now if you want, because we're going to do a movie now.
I know.
I just thought that was a little thing from Stanley Kubrick, right? He's kind of like, this is what you're here for.
Right. Yeah, probably.
When you go to a butcher shop, the meat's in the window.
Yeah, right.
Now, if you'd like to come in, we're going to tell a story.
Right. Well, I wasn't sure how to, because, like, they go to the party and they seem like they're getting along well. They seem like they're having fun dancing with each other, and then they kind of break off and like
and she immediately gets hammered.
Yeah, and like she gets basically picked up by this Hungarian guy who's like eyeing her, and then she dances with him, and she's like, she doesn't care how flirtatious she's being. Okay, but what does this mean? And then we see Bill, and like he's got two gorgeous young women on either arm, and you're like, what the hell is going on? They had split up, and she's like, I'll meet you at the bar. They never meet at the bar. So what was going on with that? Like, I wasn't sure if like that was some sort of code, like we're going to go off and enjoy the party with other people. I wasn't sure what was going on.
No,
but I don't think that that's what was going on.
They got stuck into other stuff.
I think they did too. But then she gets like jealous of him, and then she's like mad that he's not jealous of her. And then so then she's like pissed, and it's like she wants to piss him off.
Yeah, I'm questioning because it's a male writer, male filmmaker, male star, and it's definitely told from Bill's perspective.
Yes.
And I'm trying here. Let me just ask. Why don't I just tell you what I want?
Okay.
I want to believe that Alice is a three-dimensional character, even though we don't see all three dimensions. And now you go, well, then I guess she's not a three-dimensional character because that's how film works.
Yeah.
But it's from his perspective, and it's about, and we didn't have this term in 1999, but it's about male fragility. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, it is.
And I want to know that it's possible that Stanley Kubrick, a guy who's, let's face it, made, thoughtful films, but films about manly men doing manly things, being astronauts and dandies in France.
Right.
I want to know that he can communicate this truth, even if it's not the full truth, because he doesn't have that female perspective. Because Nicole Kidman is asked to do a lot. She's asked to be a lot of people. And if you think about Alice as a character just from the scenes that we see, you don't know what you're going to get on what day.
No.
But if there was a movie that was the flip side of this movie, Tenet style, that was following Alice's story, you would see more, I think, how these outbursts and these crazy things that we see connect. And Bill's detachment from her means that he is only seeing her at these times when, if he had talked to her and if they had been more open, she wouldn't have held all this stuff in.
Right. Got
drunk because she was frustrated, ended up flirting with this guy. Then later they're smoking weed and getting the highest people I've ever seen.
I know, right?
In cinema. They are higher than Harold and Kumar off of this one little joint. But anyway.
I know.
And then she's got this outburst that's clearly meant to hurt him, and she just seems like a bitch. But it's like, it's all this frustration, with her life. And, she's Nicole Kidman at 32. But I mean, she's getting older, she's worried about being attractive or whatever. Or whatever. I don't mean to be dismissive. And so I think that she is like this long-suffering character who, if you think about it, you've seen the movie a couple times, is a better character than she seems on the surface. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's other things in this movie doesn't have any way to apologize for, but I feel like she's a really underappreciated part of this.
No, I would agree with that. I think you also can, just going off of their relationship, it's not
just women be crazy.
No,
but it looks like that.
I don't think.
I think
it
looks like that in a lot of ways.
Yes.
I don't think the movie because Bill takes that wound and has a wild and crazy night, after hours style, and the movie never says that he's in the right for that. You know what I mean? And I don't think the movie's on his side, even though we follow him. Mm-hmm. And apparently, you can just flash your medical license card and people just let you do whatever you want.
I know.
I got a couple other things that I want to say about this. I love the structure of the film in that there are, excepting the costume shop, which is just like a weird detour.
Yeah.
There are like three settings that he puts himself in. His connection to the lady whose father died, his connection to Domino, the sex worker, and his connection to Mandy, in the party.
Yes.
And each one of those is sex, but death is present in all three of those scenarios as well. And so there are like these warning signs that are saying, what's the moral of this movie? Stay with your wife, I guess. I'm not exactly sure what the moral is, but there are these warning signs that say, don't come here, stay away from here. There's literally a dead body while this distraught woman is propositioning you. There's a sex worker who's found out that she's HIV positive, which now we're a little more sanguine about. But I guess in the 90s, that was the death sentence, in a movie, you're going to die.
Right.
And then there's a woman that literally dies, and gives her life for him.
Yes.
Although I'm not so sure that that was all real. Do you know what I mean? Fidelio is an opera by Beethoven, his only opera, in which a woman sacrifices herself for the man that she loves or whatever. So, like, we like to believe that it's like, oh boy, it's a secret sex society. You know, what happened to Nick Nightingale?
Right.
But it's also possible that it is just gigantically theatrical, and she was a junkie that did die. And it doesn't matter.
Was trying to say that. He was trying to say it was a charade.
Of course he would. He would try to say that.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm not sure. I don't think it really matters either way. But I think that it's. I don't know. I think it's easier to believe that than it is that like this powerful sex cult has been doing all this stuff. More likely, it's just a bunch of old guys jerking it.
Yes, you know? But I don't know. I did want to say one other thing though. Like, I was surprised that Nicole Kidman wasn't in this more. I thought it was going to be.
Well, it's a male story. It's Bill's story.
I know, but I thought she was going to be more present than she was, and she's just not in the let's write of the movie.
The other side. What's the female side look like? Because she professes that her motivation. So the thing about Bill is that Bill, I don't know. We talked about how the fact that so I guess he's a GP in Manhattan.
I guess.
Like, where's his office?
I don't know.
He doesn't have to travel far to get there.
Yeah.
So I guess he's a GP in Manhattan. He's got an apartment in Central Park West. I don't care how many rich kids like noses you're blowing. How do you afford Central Park West?
I don't know.
And it shows that he's a guy. He loves Budweiser beer.
I know.
He has like common tastes.
He does.
So why are they in these circles of society? Do you know what I mean? But whatever it is, he's a Tom Cruise character through and through, and I think Kubrick was smart to cast him and to use him this way because he doesn't question anything. And even when she says like she's mad that he's not jealous, what she means is she doesn't feel wanted. Yeah. Or desired. You know, he's groping her like earlier, but it's like, you want me because you want sex. Like, do you want, me? Is it our life? Do you want our life? Right. I have insecurities and I'm projecting them on you. And when I see you hanging out with two sex dolls, they are inflamed. But he's never questioned that because he is self-absorbed. And so when she tells him about this fantasy, it completely destroys his entire world.
And the fantasy is...
It's relatively tame.
It is, but it's weird, right?
Weird because the guy wears his uniform throughout foreplay?
Well, yes, because like I get like the first time you see him, we need that to establish
but that's all in
is.
Bill's fevered, twisted imagination.
I know, but like he's like... She's on the bed, but he's not, and it's just it's like if you imagine somebody having like passionate sex with your wife, and then what we see is
hold on,
that.
let me close my eyes. Hold on, or let me open them wide shut.
It's just like this is his worst nightmare, right?
No, it's not. No, it's not because
because
he's never thought about it up to this point.
Okay.
I don't think he's gone around being jealous and then it suddenly gets bigger. I think that we can take that scene in the bedroom, the scene from Half Baked, at face value, which is she challenges him and he's like, "No, I love you, and you know I wouldn't cheat." And he thinks of himself as he's an unimaginative guy. I think he thinks himself as being faithful,
right?
And he's sees titties in the clinic or whatever, and he's like, "Well, I'm a doctor, it's fine." But then the fact that she could have done that like destroys him.
Yeah, I know, but like,
and he acts very immaturely for
the
entire film.
He does, but another thing is like I feel like every man and woman in this film who we meet, most of the other characters, not all of them, but most of them, like throw themselves at Tom.
Oh, it's a horny movie.
It's
everybody's
super
horny in the movie. Yeah,
yeah.
It's a special syzygy of horniness.
And Lily Sobieski, who's like having some weird 3-way with the Japanese guys.
Bit racist.
Is it?
I think is it playing on the idea of
she's very young
of Japanese guys liking underage girls?
Oh, maybe.
And there's a weird like insensitive kind of cross-dressing bit going on.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I think this works. I think Tom Cruise does fine. I think it works better. I think it works best when you know the outside context. Any piece of art needs context, right? Yeah. And the good ones can be enjoyed outside of context, but like Shakespeare is always better when you know who that character is supposed to be.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I think it works best when you know the saga of Tom and Nicole. But at the same time, I'm not sure that Tom Cruise is a good Kubrick hero.
Why is that?
Because they're blank. Malcolm McDowell aside, who is a fantastic actor, very expressive, he tends to cast. I don't think he cares who he casts. Just do what I tell you to. So your Matthew Modine's, your Tom Cruise's, your Ryan. What's his names?
I don't know.
Barry Lyndon.
I don't remember his name.
Ryan O'Neill's. They're just sort of like,
yeah, I see.
So he's asking you to stare at something, and what are you feeling? The inscrutability. He likes the blankness, the Keir Deleas in 2001. What is he seeing? He's seeing these amazing things inside the monolith. Blank.
Yeah.
Blank face.
Right.
He wants that.
Yeah.
It's Kuleshov all the way, baby. And Tom Cruise is not our finest actor, but he's an expressive actor. And I almost think that he's a little too expressive to properly do what I'm imagining in my mind that Kubrick would want him to do. There's a lot of times when he is doing a real long pause. Sidney Pollack's like, "What did you think you were doing?" And Tom Cruise is like, and he's almost like shaking with tension. He's got his head in his hands, or he's pinching the bridge of his nose. Yeah. And I think normally a Kubrick hero would just be like, "I don't know what I think I was doing." It would be more flat.
Yeah.
You know?
But do you think, I mean, obviously the masks were a big part of the sex cult thing, and that was probably baked into the original story.
I think it's a setup. I think they do this every night. I think they pick some sucker and do this.
Really?
Yeah, I do think, ultimately, word of God, for me, I think that it is a show. Because it would be easier for Tom Cruise to believe.
A show for one, where people are actually having sex?
No. I think that every night they do, they probably do other operas or other themes, but the Fidelio theme is a theme of sacrifice for love.
I see what you're
and so I just think they pick the guy that came in a taxi, or the guy that they don't like, the guy that smells the worst, and then they have a girl go to him and go, "You've got to get out of here." And he's like, "Ooh, this is part of the game, but the game is on you because we're going to make you think that we're going to kill you and throw you out."
Okay. Huh.
Although, why bring the mask? I guess they really do want to make sure that he doesn't tell anybody about their little game.
How did they get the mask is what I want to know. Because he had the mask with
They went
him.
in his apartment, maybe? I don't know.
How did they get it? I don't understand that. But
there's a cash register in this movie and a coffee shop. I haven't seen that in a long time.
I know.
I think we're a little over time. So last thoughts?
I'm glad I finally saw it. I don't think... I think maybe at the time in the 90s, this would have been incredibly racy. I now, having experienced some of the things I have watched on like HBO and stuff like that, I don't think it's necessarily as racy. It's still racy, but not jaw dropping. So yeah, but
why not racy enough? Here's your review. Not racy enough.
Well, no, I don't know.
I think that it's filmmaking wise. I really wish that Stanley had lived longer and made more films because this is a lot warmer. I mean, in terms of the lighting and the palette.
Okay.
Also,
sure.
maybe in the emotions and less static than usual Kubrick.
Yeah, I can see that.
He picks his shots,
Yep.
sets it up, and that's it. You know what I mean? And it's lit well, but sort of flat. Unless he's doing a Barry Lyndon where he's doing the paintings and stuff like that. But it's like, this is a very warm, like very good looking movie.
Yeah.
And
a lot of bright Christmas lights.
And some steady cam and movements. And there's, it's a more energetic movie than he's made in the past. And I wonder, like I said, I just wish that we would have got to have seen more like that from him.
Yeah. Tom Cruise gets tailed in this movie too. So 2 movies with
Christmas tales.
Yeah, there you go.
Get your Christmas tale. All right, well, that's it. We won't be back until after the first of the year, so everybody have a good Christmas and happy holidays.
Happy New Year.
And watch movies.
Yes.
And don't get COVID.
That's right.
All right.
Wear your mask.